He wasn't born free, but he died a legend. This is how Toussaint Louverture rose to defeat an empire. When we talk about revolutions, we often talk about armies and bloodshed. But the most dangerous man to an empire isn't always the one holding the sword. Sometimes it's the one holding a pen, writing a vision of freedom that terrifies the powerful. Toussaint Louverture wasn't just a rebel, he was an architect of liberation. And that's why France didn't just fight him, they silenced him. Toussaint was born around 1743, enslaved on a plantation in Saint-Domingue. He should have died a forgotten laborer. But he rose. He taught himself to read. He studied military tactics, geography, medicine, and philosophy. He read the same Enlightenment thinkers that inspired the French Revolution. And when the uprising began in 1791, Toussaint stepped into history like a man who had already seen the future. What made Toussaint so dangerous to France wasn't just that he was a brilliant general. It was that he wasn't fighting for revenge, he was fighting for structure, for law, for independence wrapped in order. While the French were still scrambling to hold their republic together, Toussaint was creating a new society out of rebellion. He outmaneuvered the Spanish, then the British, and finally the French themselves. He rebuilt agriculture, restored trade, reopened schools, and secured loyalty from former slaves and even some white colonists. He wasn't just winning battles, he was running a country. By 1801, Toussaint wrote a constitution that did what no enslaved person had ever done before. It abolished slavery forever. It guaranteed racial equality. It made him governor for life. And most dangerously of all, it declared that Saint-Domingue would never be governed by any foreign power, including France. That one sentence shook Paris to its core. To Napoleon Bonaparte, this wasn't just rebellion. It was revolution on black terms. A former slave declaring sovereignty without permission, a black republic asserting itself as equal to Europe. That was unacceptable. Napoleon had just crowned himself emperor. He couldn't afford to let a black man write laws for a colony he still considered his own. And make no mistake, France never truly intended to honor the abolition of slavery. It was a temporary concession meant to preserve the colony. The minute Toussaint secured real power, France decided it was time to take it back. So Napoleon sent his brother-in-law, General Charles Leclerc, with an army of more than 20,000 men. Their official mission? Restore order. Their real mission? Destroy Toussaint and reinstate slavery by force. But Toussaint was ready. He ordered his troops to burn crops, destroy infrastructure, and fight a war of attrition. The French suffered major losses, not just from the Haitians, but from yellow fever. Thousands of soldiers died in the jungles, never reaching their targets. But even as the French campaign faltered, Toussaint made a fateful decision. Hoping to avoid prolonged bloodshed, he agreed to negotiate with Leclerc under the promise that slavery would not be reinstated. He even agreed to step down from power, not out of fear, but strategy. He thought he could secure peace by giving up his title. But France had no intention of keeping its word. In June 1802, under false pretenses of peace, Toussaint was arrested. They told him they were taking him to a meeting. Instead, they put him on a ship to France. When he arrived, he was taken straight to the Fort de Joux, a freezing prison in the Jura Mountains. They isolated him, cut off all communication, denied him his family, his books, even his medicine. The man who once governed an island was now locked in a cold stone cell, forgotten, starved, slowly dying in silence. He lasted 10 months. On April 7, 1803, Toussaint Louverture died of pneumonia in captivity, but his spirit didn't. His death sent a wave of fury through the Haitian resistance. Napoleon thought removing Toussaint would kill the revolution. Instead, it reignited it. But why did France go to such lengths to erase him? It wasn't just about military strategy. It was about fear. Toussaint wasn't the kind of rebel they knew how to fight. He wasn't chaotic. He was disciplined. He wasn't driven by revenge. He was driven by vision. He didn't just want to destroy the system. He wanted to replace it with something better, something free. And he proved that a black man could govern, could legislate, could lead on the world stage without permission. That idea terrified France and every slave-owning nation that watched from a distance. Because if Toussaint could succeed, it meant others could follow. It meant black freedom wasn't just a dream. It was a threat to the entire colonial order. Killing him was about more than war. It was about memory. France didn't just want to remove him. They wanted to erase him from the future, to bury the example he had set. But it didn't work, because Toussaint's words lived on. Before he was taken, he famously said, "In overthrowing me, you have only cut down the trunk of the tree of liberty. It will spring up again by the roots, for they are numerous and deep." And he was right. His generals Dessalines, Christophe, Pétion took up the fight. They carried on his legacy. They stopped negotiating. They waged war. And by the end of 1803, they delivered France one of the greatest defeats in its history. Napoleon lost his grip on the colony as he gave up on his American empire. And on January 1st, 1804, the world's first black republic was born, Haiti. Toussaint didn't live to see the flag raised. He didn't witness the declaration. But make no mistake, without him, there would be no Haiti. His leadership laid the foundation. His vision became the blueprint. His death became the spark. But still today, France has never fully acknowledged its crime. There's no apology, no justice, just silence. And Toussaint's name still doesn't sit where it belongs, next to Washington, Bolivar, and Napoleon himself. Not because he was less, but because he was more than the world was ready to accept. He wasn't born free, but he died a legend. Not because of how he died, but because of how he lived. With discipline, with dignity, and with a dream so powerful it outlived him. If this story moved you, do one thing right now. Hit the like button so this truth reaches more people. Subscribe to this channel because we are not letting our history be erased. And drop a comment with the words Toussaint lives to honor his legacy. Tomorrow we bring it full circle. In day 6, we take you to the final, decisive moment of the Haitian Revolution, the Battle of Vertières. The last stand, the final blow. The moment Haiti secured its freedom with blood and fire. Don't miss it.